Sebastian had been working his temporary shepherd job when he spotted the strange lump in the sand. While he was very fearful of it at first, he eventually was pressured by the locals to go and figure out what it was. Fearing that he would lose their respect, he actually went through with it. In hindsight, he wished that he had stayed as far away from it as possible. Sebastian's legs were shaking as he stepped closer to the strange lump in the sand. Everything in his body was screaming at him that he should get the hell out of there, but he felt the eyes of the locals burning in his back. He had no other choice but to go through with this. He had a stick which he just to carefully poke the lump. When it penetrated the layer of sand, Sebastian felt that the point of the stick hit something somewhat soft. Sebastian still had no idea what he was dealing with, so he poked a bit harder. Then suddenly the layer of sand started to move. Sebastian nearly jumped back when something actually appeared from underneath. He could not believe what he was seeing. But what was hidden under the strange lump of sand? And why did the locals pressure Sebastian to figure it out? Before we start our story, smash the like button, make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new stories. Shepherd Sebastian noticed it for the first time that very morning. At first he wasn't very sure about what he was looking at, but the sand near the edge of the lake had a very odd shape. It was the first time that he saw something like that. It was very unlikely for someone to see grains of sand shaped like this. Some of his sheep has been standing near the edge of their enclosure looking at the strange shape for a while now, so Sebastian knew there was something there. He didn't know exactly what was it, because he was standing far from the lake. But at the same time, he was hesitant about finding out. He had only recently chosen the position of a shepherd because he needed to make some extra money on his journey through Africa. After spending a couple of months here, he had already gotten very familiar with all the dangers this continent had to offer. But he couldn't quit this job because he really needed these extra couple of bucks. Sebastian has seen so many beautiful things through his journey so far. But on the other hand, there were times that he had to run from his life so many times through these months when he had too close for comfort encounter with a wild animal. So it was absolutely normal to believe that this thing near the lake was a wild animal or something like that. All these adventures made him very afraid to do things on his own now, and he mostly tried to stick around the locals when he was doing things he had not attempted before. But this time he made the mistake to be all alone, and now he didn't know what to do. He didn't want to approach the mysterious thing on his own. For now, Sebastian just tried to ignore the strange lump in the sand and continue getting the sheep back into the smaller pen. But it would not be long before he had no other choice but to investigate the lump. He did not want it at first, and he was really afraid of doing it, but he had to know what was the weird gob near the lake. The next morning, the more time passed, the more people started to gather near the strange lump. But everybody was seemingly keeping a safe distance from it, and they were talking among themselves. They were curious about what they saw, and they wanted to know what was under the lump. The citizens of this place, when they saw that Sebastian was approaching the lump, it was not strange for the locals to be skeptical about so-called outsiders, because in the past they had a lot less than positive experiences with them. They didn't have something personal with Sebastian, but they didn't trust him so much. He was not one of them, so everything that he did was weird for them. Luckily, Sebastian could explain to them that he was working as a backpacker for one of the locals. He told them all about that because he actually wanted to convince them that they did not have to worry about him. He wanted to make them trust him and avoid all these looks. During the first months that he was in this place, he had tried to learn the local language and dialect so far, but it was still difficult for him to communicate with the locals. But this was not something that kept him back from asking them their opinion of what they did believe that was under the lump. It wasn't so easy at first, but it got easier. After Sebastian talked to them, he understood that their answer was difficult to decipher for him. But he realized one and only thing: they seemed to be as confused as they were. One of them pointed at the lake as well, fearing that whatever it was, it probably came from inside the water. Maybe he was not that wrong about this assumption. Sebastian knew that not a single animal that inhabited these waters even came close to this size and shape. And if it in fact did come to the water, That means that the creature could not have survived on land for all the hours it had already been here. So there were two options. The first was that the animal was dead, or it was a terrestrial animal. By this point, the other people around Sebastian started slowly taking a couple steps back while he was still processing the lump, seemingly deep in thought about it. They were frightened about what they are going to find out, but Sebastian has to be brave for them. He wanted to see what was underneath, but he wanted to make them like him. When Sebastian looked around him again, he saw that everybody was looking at him and gesturing for him to go and see what the weird lump was. He was starting to become really nervous because he was feeling that everybody wanted him to find something very huge and special in this lump. But he was afraid that he is going to let them down. If he were to walk away now, he would most likely lose all the respect of the locals, and he knew that he was very much going to depend on them for the foreseeable future, as he had no money to go anywhere right now. So he had to stay in this place and get along with everyone in this small town. At that exact moment, Sebastian noticed that his employee was looking up the scene playing out on the beach of his farm. Sebastian thought that walking away now might even mean that he would lose his employment. He couldn't risk that, because without a job he would end up staying forever in this place, poor and alone. After all, Sebastian realized that he had no other choice and took a deep breath before approaching the strange lump in the sand. One of the locals had even handed him a stick to poke it with. So he poked the lump 2 or 3 times, and he saw something move inside it. He was starting to panic, but he didn't want to show his emotions. Sebastian suddenly heard them whispering behind his back in their native language. He started to wonder if they could be pulling a prank on him. And the biggest problem is that it was not easy for him to understand what they were saying, and this made him very uncomfortable. It was time to see what was under the lump. For the first few minutes, he was really nervous about what he was going to do, but this was the right time. With the lead in his shoes, he walked even closer to the lump to a distance where he could just about to poke it with the stick. He was surprised because he felt something that he didn't expect while he was touching it. That very moment happened something that he didn't expect at all. When the stick penetrated the layer of sand, it seemingly hit something somewhat soft, and when Sebastian poked it a little harder, the lump action started to slightly move. He had started to panic a little bit, because he was afraid that under the lump would be a dangerous animal. But it wasn't dangerous at all. Then suddenly, a small elephant arose from the sand. This little guy had probably fallen asleep while taking a sand bath, and his group had left without him. Luckily, the locals quickly managed to locate them and bring the small elephant back to his group.